G'day legends. So, Tom Aspinall's gone ahead and he's asked us a very interesting question in his latest view with the good old The Schmo. He wants to know, to be considered the best heavyweight in the world of all time, especially, well, in the UFC at least, okay? Like, obviously we can get into Fedor Emelianenko and whether or not what he did at Pride was legitimate, considering that company was very well known for rigging fights, but at least in the UFC, to be considered the greatest heavyweight of all time, all you have to do is surpass 3 title defenses. And Tom Aspinall, he wants to know if defeating Curtis Blaydes counts as one of them. So, we're going to look at some takes, we're going to look at some reactions, and we're going to discuss whether or not Tom Aspinall actually has a point here. Like, is he going to have to do more work at heavyweight, defending interim titles than any other heavyweight has ever done before his title run even starts? Is he going to have to defend the interim title like 5 times before we can actually start saying he has legitimate title runs? Because I can, in all honesty, picture a world where Jon Jones signs up to fight Tom Aspinall in November, and then a week or 2 weeks before the fight, Jon Jones accidentally injures himself, and Tom Aspinall has to fight Cyril Gane instead, yeah? Tom Aspinall versus Jailton Almeida ends up being the main event for the defending interim championship at Madison Square Garden in November, while Jon Jones he's unfortunately injured and he's sidelined for another little bit. I can honestly see that world. I think there is a real possibility, I think there is more of a possibility of that happening than Jon Jones actually getting into the cage to fight Tom Aspinall. But don't worry, hardcore Jon Jones fans, because I'm not suggesting that Jon Jones is scared of fighting Tom Aspinall at all. That would be ridiculous to say, you know what I mean? He's only taken years and years to fight the guy. How could you say that Jon Jones is scared of Tom Aspinall? You know, you got fighters like Merab Dvalishvili and prime Alexander Volkanovski and prime Israel Adesanya and prime Kamaru Usman and modern day Ian Gary that just seem to want to tear through their divisions as quickly as humanly possible. But Jon Jones, he is absolutely not scared to fight Tom Aspinall at all. Not scared at all. Did you guys notice he's trying to start beef with Dominic Reyes again? He's trying to go back in that direction. Yeah. Remember when Jon Jones called out Derek Lewis? Just for a fun fight? Jon Jones versus Derek Lewis. Remember when he was trying to sell that idea to us instead? No, he's 100% not scared of fighting Aspinall. He'd rather Derek Lewis just for fun. Just for fun. I mean, just because Jon Jones will literally take on anyone else in the UFC other than Tom Aspinall doesn't mean that he's scared of Tom Aspinall, and I would never suggest such a thing. So obviously, you're going to have two sides of the argument here, right? Of whether or not Tom Aspinall deserves some credit for his interim title defense. And then, of course, you're going to have Jon Jones fans. You know, the absolute dregs of society. Yeah, bottom of the barrel human beings. You see them all the time. They're out there living underneath cardboard boxes, just surrounded by crack pipes and heroin. That is the sort of core Jon Jones fan base. And then you've got the other people, you know, living their normal lives, functioning members of society, paying their taxes, going to work. That is the sort of core Tom Aspinall fan base there. But there are people sharing their opinions like this guy here, Tommy. Tommy says, laughing my ass off, beating Curtis Blaydes to defend a temporary belt is not a defense. Stipe or Kane are the heavyweight goats. Right? I mean, Tommy's completely right here. Imagine beating Curtis Blaydes. Imagine trying to say that beating Curtis Blaydes is a decent win. Someone who's been at the top of the division for years and years now. Someone who's been a top 5 contender at heavyweight for, I don't know, what do you guys reckon? Maybe 5 years now? Since 2019, at least Curtis Blaydes has been around there. Maybe 6 years now. Imagine saying that defeating Curtis Blaydes is a legitimate defense. That's crazy. And especially when you compare it to the just unstoppable and unrelenting force that was a 44-year-old retired for 4 years, hobbly knees on crutches when we saw him walking into an arena once. Stipe Miocic, right? I mean, how could you even compare a raging Curtis Blaydes to hobbly-wobbly 40-year-old Stipe Miocic? They're not even close. Other smooth brains here saying Mario Constanello. He says no, he defended his interim belt, not the heavyweight belt. So Mario is obviously a Jon Jones fan. And then you've got Danilo J, who says no, beating Curtis Blaydes doesn't count as a title defense. Little bro is begging for legacy. And again, these Jon Jones fans seem to be raging at the idea that beating Curtis Blaydes is somehow legitimate, you know? Of course, beating Stipe at his age and his tenure is far more legitimate. And I'm not surprised that this is coming from somebody that has a Lucas Tracy profile picture either. This is the kind of toxic fan base that Lucas Tracy has cultivated in MMA YouTube now. This is what Lucas Tracy has done to MMA. He has opened the doors and started putting out these factory NPC MMA fans slowly. Yeah, just ironing out their brains, smoothing them out. Well done, Lucas. Well done, mate. Look at the fan base that you have accommodated here on MMA YouTube. I noticed as soon as Dougie's Corner started to pick up some traction, hit around 1,000 subs, that's right when Lucas Tracy decided to dip out of the game in fear. Just like Ilya Topuria dipped out of featherweight when he knew that Alexander Volkanovski was getting his shit together and he was getting back in there. I see the game you're playing, Lucas Tracy. Next one. Jon Jones went through 3 generations of fighters. This guy has only been fighting for how long, and he's already caught an L from Dustin, from bloody Dustin, mate. This one actually really pisses me off, because look, there is obviously some Jon Jones trolls online, but this one you can tell, like, this guy doesn't seem like a troll. This guy seems like a regular, normal human being, which it just hurts me to realize how dumb some people are out there. Like, you can tell this guy, he doesn't actually watch the UFC. He doesn't watch MMA. He probably just goes to a sports bar with his mates and gets blackout drunk, and he glances up at the screen through the fucking haze of alcohol, and he looks at the record, and he sees a loss on Tom Aspinall record, and he goes, yeah, that's it, mate. Caught a loss. Nothing compared to the GOAT, Jon Jones. He's the GOAT, mate. LeBron and Jones, bloody GOATs. This Tom Aspinall is already done, mate. Like, not realizing that it was due to an injury that he'd been dealing with his entire career that he had talked about, you know? Like, if you're going to say that Tom Aspinall's loss due to injury is legitimate, then you sort of have to point out, you know, the loss that Jon Jones has from being disqualified for pulling illegal moves in the cage. Like, we don't even need to get into the nitty-gritty of the Dominic Reyes fight. We don't have to get into that. But, you know, if you want to say that, oh, Tom Aspinall fell over and snapped his leg because his tendons gave way, well, you know, use the Mighty Mouse argument. Jon Jones has a loss for doing something illegal in the cage, you know? Piotr Jan kneed someone in the head when they were down, lost his belt. You break the rules of the sporting competition that you are in, you cop an L. That's the way life works. Jon Jones has an L, yeah? Now, look, I obviously fall on the side of the argument that Tom Aspinall's title defense against Curtis Blaydes is 100% legitimate, okay? I think the work that Tom Aspinall has done at heavyweight legitimizes him as the champion. He fought actual contenders, actual up-and-comers, the actual top 10 of the division, and he defended the heavyweight belt on pay-per-view against Curtis Blaydes, who is a perennial contender that deserves to be at the top of the division at the time, and he was active other than, you know, Jon Jones's title defense against Stipe Miocic, one of, in fact, at the time, the least most active UFC athlete on the roster. It was surprising that he was even on the roster. And this is at a time when Conor McGregor is in the roster. Like, you got Conor McGregor and still Stipe Miocic has less activity in recent time than Conor. As far as the debate on whether or not Tom Aspinall's wins are actually quality legacy wins, I don't think there's a debate on that, yeah? I think for the heavyweight division, Tom wins are absolutely quality and legacy wins. The problem is not with Tom Aspinall's wins. The problem is with the division, right? The problem with the division itself is being dog shit and garbage, yeah? So if you're going to have a conversation about whether or not Tom Aspinall is the greatest MMA fighter of all time, you know, and I don't think he is, but when you take someone like Mighty Mouse, and the problem with Mighty Mouse in the GOAT conversation of all of MMA is the fact that he was fighting subpar competition because his division sucks. That's a fair enough argument. If you want to take Tom Aspinall and have the same conversation, you can say, yeah, but he's fighting blobs at heavyweights. Fair enough. But when you're talking about his legacy at heavyweight, which is what Tom Aspinall is talking about here, is his legacy at heavyweight, then within his division, he has done the best work anyone has done of the time being, of the current era. He still obviously needs to get those defenses in to catch up to Stipe and JDS, right? So obviously Tom Aspinall still has to do work, but I'm saying the work that he has done so far in the pool of fish that he is swimming in is absolutely legitimate. It's not fair to Tom that the pool of fish that he is swimming in is dog shit, and that is probably going to affect him when it comes to his overall conversation within overall all of MMA. But as far as Tom goes, just in heavyweight, Tom's done great work in heavyweight, and the title defense against Curtis Blades, I believe, 100% stands up. So the problem is with heavyweight itself. It's not with Tom. When all is said and done, Tom Aspinall probably will go down as the greatest heavyweight of all time. I think he is going to end up having on his legacy, if I can make a bold prediction for the entire legacy of Tom Aspinall going forward, title defense wise, I think on Tom Aspinall's resume for title defenses, he will end up having Curtis Blades, Cyril Gane, Jailton Almeida. I think he will again get another fight with Volkov, so he'll defend against Volkov, and he will sleep Shamil the Blob Gaziev. I know, just calm down, all my blob enjoyers. And I think Tom Aspinall will retire there with Curtis Blades, Cyril Gane, Jailton Almeida, Volkov, and Shamil Gaziev, 5 title defenses in the bank, making him the greatest UFC heavyweight of all time, at least. Notice that Jon Jones wasn't on that list. I don't think Jon Jones ever fights Tom Aspinall. I don't think he does. I think he delays it in perpetuity and ends up trying to weasel out of it any way that he can. I don't think Jon Jones ever ends up on Tom Aspinall's resume. But don't worry, boys. Jon Jones isn't scared. Oh, no. Jon Jones isn't scared of Tom Aspinall at all. Anyone want to see me fight Curtis Blades? Anyone? Just for fun? Fun idea? Oh, that would be a fun idea. Maybe I'll fight Curtis Blades instead. Huh? What about Derek Lewis? Anyone? Derek Lewis instead? Huh? No? You want me to fight Tom? You really want me to fight Tom? Oh, my chest is playing up again. Oh, I wish I could. I wish I could. Anyway, that's it. That's the video for today. If you enjoyed this video, g'day, my name's Dougie. I make an MMA video every day of the week, Monday through Friday, and I try and go live at least 3 times a week. If you want to know when all of that happens, you hit that subscribe button and that notification bell down there. And if you're already on board with the channel, thank you so much. Please leave a like, help the channel grow. The more the channel grows, the more time I can spend on the channel, so that'd be great. And if you're one of the paying members of the channel, you are a bloody legend. Your names are up on the next slide. And until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.